What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network by Run Try Bike. Thank you for joining us. We have a very special guest today. We have Everyday Athlete Clubhouse member Wendy Mader will be joining us. She has been interviewed by Holly Sick, and you can find that article on our website. As well as if you are an EAC member, you can find her Party of Five podcast on runtrymag.com, and then also a Fiery Embers, which you can find on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just Google Wendy Mader under our Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on any of those platforms, and you will find that interview as well as now this one. But before we bring Wendy on, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and if you're using Spotify or YouTube, comment. Yes, it helps us with the algorithm. It moves us up and does all of the good things that algorithms do. But more importantly, I love hearing what you have to say. I love reading your comments. I love engaging with you. So drop those comments in there. Ask questions. Tell us your favorite part of the interview. Do all of those things, and we'll make sure that I get back to you and respond to you in that time. While I have you here, don't forget to join the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. It is a clubhouse for the everyday athlete, that will give you support whether you are running your first 5K or your 10th 100 miler, getting started with a sprint triathlon, or finishing Kona World Championships from the Ironman side of it all. Come hang out with us. We have an exclusive hidden Slack channel that only members are participating in, so you can ask your questions without fear. You'll get exclusive content. You'll get a welcome box from us. Come hang out at the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. Join it by going to runtrymag.com, hovering over shop, and then clicking on the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse tab there. Without any more rambling from me, let's bring Wendy on and let's have a good time. My friend, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. I'm reminiscing over our Fiery Embers chat and our Party of Five chat and how much fun I had there, especially because you designed a vegan menu for our Party of Five chat, and I eat predominantly vegan. And so it was really cool to hear what somebody would be serving their guests and their friends at that meal. So thanks for that.
Yeah, that was fun.
So the first question I love to ask people, and I've learned it from our Enduring Minds podcast and Joe with his Beyond the Finish Line episode, is who is Wendy Mader?
And I'm so prepared for this question because I've listened to so many Fireside Chats that I wanted to be prepared for this one. So first and foremost, I am Wendy Mader. I am the daughter of my parents. I am a wife, a stepmom, a step-grandma. I'm a former collegiate swimmer, an ex-collegiate swimmer. I'm a world champion in multi-sport, so I'm a multi-sport athlete. I like to run ultras. That's kind of what I'm focused on right now. And I am originally from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, otherwise known as Grosse Pointy. I quickly moved to Colorado. So I'm a former Coloradoan. I lived in Colorado for 25 years because I heard it had 300 days of sun, and that's kind of was my draw to Colorado back in 1995. And now I'm a current Georgian. I live in Marietta, Georgia with my husband, and both sides of our families have kind of congregated to Georgia. So that's just a little bit about me.
I love the answer, but here's as you're going through who Wendy Mader is, and you said you prepared for this, the first thing I thought of is like, why did she say, I'm Wendy Mader and I'm the daughter of my parents? Like, what? Because if you've been rehearsing this, for lack of a better phrase, you probably move things around. Like, why were those two things the first things that came out?
That kind of came out today. So I like to do flowcharts. So I like to have the umbrella. This is who I am. Originally, this is who I am. And I've become a lot of different people, personas over the years. I don't like labels. And so I've heard other people start out with, oh, and I'm also a coach, but I've heard other people start off with, I'm an ultra runner, I'm a triathlete, I'm this, I'm that. And that's, that's what stuff I do. I mean, that's stuff I do, but ultimately
Right.
I'm my own person. I have my own personality. I recently saw that O'Hara, what's her first name? Catherine
Caroline?
O'Hara passed away.
Yes.
And she had said one of these quotes I saw her say was, what does she want to be remembered by? And she said the mother of her children. And I'm like, oh, what a great answer, not all the
Yeah.
fame and fortune, but she wants to be known as the mother of her children. So that kind of played into who I am, and that umbrella of this is Wendy Mader at the top, and these are all the things that I do.
It's amazing when I ask that follow-up question, like, why did you put this first? Most people aren't prepared the way you are prepared. And it takes them a moment for like the brain synapses to fire and be like, oh, I said I'm an ultra runner, or I said I'm a coach because
Hmm.
X, Y, Z, because I'm with you. These are the things that we do. This isn't necessarily who we are. I said
Hmm.
this to Lori yesterday. I said, our platform is really built on the idea that we are people who run, not runners who people. And I think that
Right.
that right, like I think it's important because I want to know who you are. Like, I got it, you swim, you bike, you run, and that is all fantastic stuff, but what makes you tick, what makes you smile, what makes you laugh, what brings tears to your eyes? I commented yesterday that I was watching Queer Eye episode, I think it's episode 10, it's their final episode,
Hmm.
and within the first 60 seconds I was crying because they were just showing two people love and attention. And it dawned on me, like, we don't do enough of that in society today. We don't do enough of love and attention to others. And so your answer just gets me like thinking, like, oh, what are all of these things, right? Like that we do are much separate from who we are.
Right. And I get frequently asked, like, why do you jump in cold water? And it's like, well,
Oh, we're going
because
to
I
talk about
can.
this.
Because I can, number one. Number two is not a lot of people do. And so I like to do those things that a small percentage of people want to do or can do. And the thing that drives me more than anything is if there's a challenge presented in front of me, that drives my motivation to say, okay, I want to try it, I want to do it, and then kind of learn from the process of getting to that goal or failing at the goal, learning from it, and then trying again.
Yeah, I don't recall if there's somebody who this quote is said by and related to, but they said, I don't ever lose. I either win or I learn. And I just thought that was like
Right.
a real, right? Like that's a great way of framing that that process and the journey of getting to whatever the win is, like whatever you define as the win. And I just think that that's super important too, because it also helps to build confidence, right? Like, okay, I didn't hit this goal, but here are the things I learned so that the next time I try, I can hit that goal.
Hmm. Yeah, I think
Tackle.
I used that quote after one of my Ironmans when the year after I won, I walked the marathon. And so one of my quotes at my husband took a picture of me and I'm like, you win or learn.
Yeah.
This is
So
a learning opportunity.
every person listening to this is going to be like, you won what? So what did you win?
So I was the 2008 amateur female world champion in Kona. It was
That's so,
my seventh, I think it was my seventh Ironman. And the year before, I remember I was there in 2007. I did pretty well. I was probably top 20 in my age group. And I remember seeing the woman Bree Wee. She's from Kona. She won it. And I was at the awards and I saw her up there and I said, I could do that. And so what
I did.
happens is I did. I hired a coach and he was based out of California. It was Rock Fry from Multisport. And so I hired a coach and I was an easy athlete because I had some experience and I did everything he said. And I kept a log and I did the whole 9 yards. But like I needed a new perspective and I wanted to get there. And so with his help and with my passion and determination and desire, I won the next year. And it's just the power of the mind and that I knew it was time for me to say I never podiumed on Kona, but I'm like I want to be her. And then I made it happen.
Jabri Wee was uber popular back then. That was around the
Hmm.
time that I had kind of just got started in endurance sports in general. And she end up turning pro, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
She turned pro and she's the reason I wanted to win because I saw her. She's the reason that I didn't want to go pro is because she tanked. and
Yeah.
and then I did my research and a lot of overall winners female, maybe male too, but I was looking at the females. They turn pro and then they're just a disaster. And I didn't turn pro for a lot of other reasons, but that was one reason I'm like, oh, I don't want to tank. And I did. I actually tanked the next year and I walked the marathon because I had some GI upset. But I'm like, walking that marathon as an amateur was so much easier, I think, than the pressure of being a pro and going from an age group world champion to walking the marathon. It's a
I mean,
little
there's a ton of
intense.
it, right? Yeah, I mean, I think there's a ton of like I'm having a ton of assumptions about why that descent is
Uh-huh.
happening because I think that all of a sudden, right, there's a lot of eyeballs on you. You have sponsors that are now
Hmm.
talking to you about a lot of different things, and so the external pressure has to just be tremendous in going from a world champion amateur to now racing professionally. I would
Hmm.
imagine that it's not that she didn't have, or any of these women that you're talking about didn't have the physical ability. It's that all of a sudden that mounting pressure it's got to be debilitating at points.
It would have been debilitating for me. It was a little bit debilitating, not being a pro, going to
Right.
defend my title. But again, I wasn't pro. Another significant reason, pros retire, amateurs don't.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting my 34th season since I started triathlon. I haven't missed a race in 34 years. And it's like, I don't have to retire because I'm not a pro. There's no reason to
Right.
retire. I feel like I'm a professional amateur.
Well, you're doing
Another
it well.
label.
Yeah, yeah. We'll put that one at the end. You're doing it well. By the way, you mentioned Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and I immediately wrote down John Cusack because Grosse Pointe Blank is one of my favorite movies. I have to, is
Mhm.
that something that everybody in Grosse Pointe like has to watch?
Yeah, I mean, even me, I had to watch it because it does take place in Grosse Pointe. So you're
Yeah.
watching it, you're like, oh my God, I live 5 miles from, Lakeshore Drive or wherever they were driving down. And so definitely, yeah, you have to. You just want to see the scenes that you've been to, and you're like, oh my God, I was there. It's like you feel like you've been part of the movie.
Let's go into the cold plunge. We talked about this before we started pressing record here. And when we did, I don't know if it was the Party of Five or if it was the Fiery Embers, you mentioned that you
Uh-huh.
were going to start doing the cold plunge and recording and speaking to the camera and do it on a daily basis. And I applauded you because I was like, there's 0% chance on this screener if I would do that because I am afraid of cold water. How did it go? You went from November, the middle of
No,
November to the end.
November. So I remember on that chat, watching you do all your cup of Jasons. I'm like,
Yeah,
it had been a while since I was doing regular videos. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I got to be different. I got to do something that no one's doing. So I tried to start doing videos after my cold plunge, some sort of inspirational message if I could think of one, yada yada yada. So this is the second year I did it. I started in November, and it's usually mid 60s, and that's cold. That's cold to
yes,
me. And so
yes,
I'm like, gosh, God, I can't even handle 65. And then I made a commitment to myself. Every time I'm at Lifetime is where I coach the kids, I'm going to commit to jumping in the cold water outside. And I've stayed true to that commitment. And sometimes even on the weekends, it's a bonus because I don't necessarily go there on the weekends. And there's been times that I didn't want to do it. Like when it kind of quickly got into the 50s sooner than it did the year before. And so probably by December it was in the 50s. And I'm like, oh, that got there quick. Some days I didn't want to do it, but when I make a commitment to myself, I'm not gonna let myself down. I don't want to disappoint myself. So I always did it. And then I knew in January it was going to be in the 40s, and it started getting in the 40s, and it was hovering between like 45 and 48. And I'm like, that's really cold.
yeah,
I don't want to do it, but I'll do it. I'm doing it. And then as it was getting colder, especially the last like month, I would sometimes go early and get it done in the mornings because that was going to be the coldest part of the day. And
right.
when I first started, I was doing it at like 3:30 before I coached the kids at 4. And I'm like, no, I want to do this in the coldest part of the day. That's kind of what was getting me excited, is to say it's a couple degrees colder at 7 a.m. compared to 4 p.m. So I started going earlier and earlier. And then we had this extreme cold spell the last 2 weeks. So the last week or 2 weeks of January, when I thought 4 weeks ago was the coldest time in Georgia, I was wrong. The wind chills were 0. I was running this past weekend on the pool deck. My feet were like sticking to the pavement because it was so cold. I'd run up the slide and I was sliding down and I had my underwater camera. And the first time I did it, I had my thumb. And so I couldn't see
Oh
anything.
no. Oh
So I had
no.
to do it. So I had to do it again. And so I'm like, all right, it's the coldest temperature outside, but it's still 40. It was like 40 and a half degrees. And I'm like, I wonder if it's going to get below 40 this year. And then Monday morning, again, I'm all excited. I went and coached masters and I checked the temperature and it was 38.9. After I coached, it was 38.7. And I was so excited to say, this is it. This is the coldest the outdoor pool will ever get. There was a sheet of ice, little tiny thin sheet of ice on top of the water.
Really?
And I got on the block and I tried to do a cannonball and I kind of failed at the cannonball part, but I went in. That time I jumped immediately out. I'm like, okay, I can't even stay here and do a video. Like I'm out of here. This counted. Check mark. I did the video. And then this morning when I did it, it was 40.5 and I could tell it was warmer. And I'm like, I cannonballed and instead of like, I just came up and I'm walking to my camera. I'm like, this is no big deal. Like this 2 degrees warmer, even though it's only 40.5, I'm like, it
Yeah.
feels warmer. And so it's only going to get warmer from here on out. And it to me, it makes me mentally stronger. That was another reason I wanted to do something that I never thought possible. Like I hated cold more than I would have told anyone. I hate cold more than anything in this world. And that's the reason I started doing it, to overcome something that was hard.
I didn't realize so you said you did it this morning. Today's February 3rd. So you are still doing this. Is there, or like, when does it stop happening then?
March is
Okay.
when it does it, that it's solar, it's going to be solar heated. So I remember last March, I remember getting in at 55 and I'm like, this isn't really any fun anymore. It's 55. It's not cold anymore. So this year I'm going to go as long as I can, but I'm the challenge of the coldest water, it's over. So the next challenge is, can I swim 25 meters when it's in the 40s? Can I swim 50 meters when it's in the 40s, or do I have to wait till it's 50? I don't think I've ever swam 50 meters and colder than 65 in the pool, or 63. So now my challenge, my challenges is still happening, is how much can I swim in the coldest that I can swim in it? So I'll be going at least through the end of February. I'll be going through the end of mid-March. Mid-March, it gets pretty toasty here, that
Yeah.
it's going to be in the 60s by March.
But there's still a chance, right? Because we can't predict the weather, even though we try to. That there you could get a
Right.
cold snap. It still can happen. This
We
is
could we
only
could
the
get a
beginning.
cold snap. Yeah.
By the
So it's
way,
just
for
a
you,
mentally challenging thing for me.
and I want to talk about that in a second. But for you listeners, the answer to your question is no, she is not wearing a wetsuit. She is jumping in the water in a bathing suit, no wetsuit, no thermal earmuffs or thermal cap. She's jumping in the water. And this idea of swimming 25 or 50 meters is astounding me. I think I raced Ironman Arizona in 2012, and Tempe
Hmm.
Town Lake was 62 or 63 degrees. I have never been so cold getting out of the water because for me, 2.4 miles is somewhere around an hour and a half. And I got out of the water and I couldn't feel my feet. I couldn't feel my hands. And trying to get on a bike to now go ride for 112 miles just seemed like an awful idea that day.
62 sounds so warm to me.
Compared to 40 or 38 and a half, yeah, like that's the 20 degrees is a massive difference. It would feel like a jacuzzi probably.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And they did at the club I work at, they transferred one of our hot tubs into a cold plunge and they keep that around 50 to 52. So when I go outside and then when I get in that 50 to 52, it's like relatively warm.
Right.
It's just a huge difference. The way you do things that are hard is you do things that are harder. So what used to be hard isn't so hard anymore.
So let's talk about that for a minute because we've talked about like constantly challenge yourself and figuring out ways to challenge yourself. And it started with how do I do a video, right? I want to challenge myself and do a
Mhm.
video. And now I'm going to do cold plunge and I'm going to now swim 25 meters and I'm going to swim 50 meters. Like, one, how do you develop these challenges for yourself? And two, why is it so important to do the challenges?
For me, I just have that motivation. Like if it's challenging, it's easier for me to motivate myself to do something that than it's not challenging. Like besides cold plunging, I love to run uphill. I would love to run a marathon up a hill because hills are challenging to most people. And
Yep.
so I'm going to become the master of a hill or in a mountain so it's not as challenging. And then I have that I'm one step above my competition because they can't run up a hill or ride up a hill. So I'm going to make sure I become the expert of riding hills, riding in the wind, and riding in the heat because those three things seem to crush people multi-sport wise. And so that drives me to want to do these things. Why? I just don't know. Well, yeah, I guess I do know. I mean, I also tell the story is when I was growing up, I could swim, but I couldn't kick or throw a ball, and I was always picked last. Always
Okay.
picked last for those elementary school sports, and that look crushed me because I was
Yeah.
always the last one standing. No one wanted me on their team. And that could like devastate someone and they could go the
100%.
wrong direction in life. But I think that was part of that's something that happened to me that I'm like, I don't want to be picked last anymore. I want to be the best at everything I can do. And I want to do hard things so things that used to be hard aren't so hard anymore.
I think the mindset sounds like something very similar to me, which is I'm going to prove you wrong. And so when I was racing Ironman, when I would go run training, especially off the bike, I would always repeat to myself, you may be faster than me on the bike, but I will chase you down on the run. You may be faster than me on the
Uh-huh.
bike, but I will chase you down on the run. Like I just kept repeating that to myself, and it allowed that pain and that soreness and that weariness in my legs to go away because that was the motivating factor. Like, and when I was training, sometimes I was, running off the bike by myself, but I would like see a fire hydrant or a telephone pole, and I would envision that as somebody in front of me, and I would just repeat to myself, I'm going to catch you. And look, telephone poles don't move, so I was always catching it, right? But it would it
Right.
would it would help build that confidence. Like I got there, I caught it, right? And so it sounds like that
Yeah.
same mindset for you. Go ahead.
Well, the confidence. I think I was as an age group swimmer, kindergarten through high school, little bit in college. I didn't have the confidence. I could train with the best of them because the training was the challenge. The training was the praise that I got from my coach. And then I'd stand on the block and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, this is not what I want to
Really?
be doing. I want to go do 10,000 meters. I don't want to do this 500 swim. And so I called myself a head case. I never had the confidence as a swimmer. But then when I started multi-sport, I did it for me, myself, and I, and the confidence just came by doing it and being in the sport starting 34 years ago. There wasn't much competition, so I did really well relatively. So having that insecurity, I didn't know what to do as a swimmer. I did it again later on. I realized I wanted to please my coach and my parents, but I didn't want to do it for me. So I learned that as I got older, and that's what triathlon did for me. It helped me build the confidence for me, self-confidence in everything I do, was because triathlon was a challenge and I did it well.
Do you think that the performance anxiety you would have standing on the block and thinking I'd rather train and swim 10,000 meters than participate in this race right now goes back to when you were a kid and participating in softball or kickball or whatever else and being kicked
Uh-huh.
last? Do you think that that's the connection then?
Yeah, definitely could be. We didn't have the sports psychologist back then. I
Yeah.
wanted to be a sports psychologist because I knew I was a head case as a youth swimmer, a little bit of a head case as a collegiate swimmer, which a lot of things happened as a collegiate swimmer that we can get into later. But I think again, everything happens for a reason. I came out ahead with that whole being picked last insecurity kid. Probably because I like you said you're gonna catch catch them on the run. I'd always say to myself, "Let's go in the pool. I'll prove it in the pool,"
Right.
because I was always a good swimmer, and so I always had that confidence of, "You guys may make fun of me now, but I'll show you when gym class has a pool season. When we have 3 months in the pool, I'll show you."
That's amazing. Like this is why I love having conversations with people because one, we all come from different backgrounds. we have had different traumas in our life that have impacted us and led us down whatever path that we're on, and things of that nature. And so it's always fascinating to me to hear people's stories of, where they were, what they came from, what they overcame to get to where they are today. And because we're talking to adults now, we're not talking to our 10-year-old selves, how that has carried forward into our life as an adult and participating in these sports where, especially in today's world, where you open up TikTok or Instagram or anything, and there is a story of somebody who's doing X, whatever X might be. And you can tell me all day, every day, and twice on Tuesday, like, oh, I don't compare myself to others. That is damn near impossible. You open it up and you see somebody's done something, whether they're doing it better or slower or shorter than you are, there is an immediate concept of comparing yourself. Oh, did I run enough today? Because this person ran 3 miles. I should have run 4. Did this person do this? Right? There's this constant synergy connection there. And so hearing stories of athletes like yourself, childhood traumas of being picked last, standing on the block, I'd rather swim 10,000 meters than compete, and then trying to overcome that challenge as an adult. And then all of a sudden it feels like, I could be dead wrong, it feels like it gets harder as an adult because now we're seeing not just our immediate circle, but the whole world is in front of us now. And it's like, hey, how do, Strava, I ran 6.2 miles today. I feel great about myself. And somebody ran 6.25. And there are going to be people out there going to be like, they're better than me. And the reality is they're not. They just ran 0.05 further, nothing more than that.
Right. Right. And that reminds me of FOMO. I know you've probably done podcasts on FOMO. I used to have that more so when I kind of was transitioning into the ultra running.
Okay.
Ooh, I want to do 100 miles. I want to do that 50 mile. I want to do the 100 mile. I want to do the what's 200 mile? Blah, 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 blah. I didn't know FOMO existed. I didn't know that was a term until later on after I broke my patella. My whole mindset shift changes. I don't get FOMO anymore. But before I broke my patella, I just thought, if they can do it, I can do it. I'm going to show them. I'm going to win. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do, again, this whole 200-mile thing. Like, what was I thinking? And I look back at my 2023, I had my Training Peaks calendar of all these races I was going to do in 2023, and I broke my patella in March of 2023. But I still look back at Training Peaks and I'm like, what was I thinking? How could I have done all that? My mind just wanted it so bad. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
You do 100 miles, you post it on Facebook, you post it on Strava, you get the kudos. And then a week later, you're like, oh, I still feel like crap. I'm still recovering. I still can't train again. Like I just want to go train and not force myself to do any of these big, huge, epic events. I still may. I'm not saying 100 miles is not in my future, but not right now.
And it's right. And I think that comes from experience and understanding the ranking of importance. Ryan Reynolds, who's a member of our clubhouse, you've probably seen his podcast or listened to his podcast with us here. He had a Substack, and one of the Substack's themes was like getting rid of things that aren't important to you anymore, like growing up and all of a sudden this just isn't as important. And I told him during our conversation one time, like, for the last 2 or 3 Decembers into Januaries, I've had this idea that I wanted to make crepes, right? And like, it would bother me that I wasn't making crepes. And then earlier this year, I was like, I am never going to make crepes. Like, cross that off your bucket list. Like, who gives a shit? Just go to a French bakery or cafe and have them make it for you, and get it off of your list. And so, like, I understand where you're coming from when it comes to races, because I used to think to myself, I want to do this big race and this big race and this big race, because a lot of it was FOMO. Oh, so many people are doing this race and that race. And I've had the privilege of going and doing. I've raced Western States. I've paced at Badwater. I've raced Cocodona. I've raced Ironman all over the country. I've had the very good fortune of being able to do that. But now my interest is in, where's the smaller race? Where's the race that gets less accolades, so I can hang out with the community, so I can talk to people while we're there. I don't have to worry about this big race where you kind of get lost in the sea of humanity, because I want to talk to and race with people. as opposed to saying, oh, I raced this UTMB, Kodiak race or whatever. And I'm making that up. I just saw
Mhm.
an ad. Um,
Right.
and now I think that's experience. Would you agree with that?
Totally agree. Yeah. And again, I've had these experiences, especially with multi-sport, um, that I'm kind of like, all right, that's been there, done that. Let's find the next challenge. Let's put that on hold for a while. Will I do an Ironman ever again? Eh, I knew 2022 was probably going to be my last one, but I'm never ever going to say never. I mean, I'm positive. Oh, you could always change your mind. I always tell people it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your why. It's okay to change your reason. It's okay to change your path and direction.
Yep. I I I don't know that I will race an Ironman again either myself. I love riding my bike. I love swimming. I love running. But I know the amount of time that I poured into training for an Ironman, and as of
Hmm.
today, the squeeze of that lemon isn't worth the juice for me. And so,
Right.
like, I don't know
Yeah.
if I would do all of that work to go back to an Ironman. And to your point, that's okay. By the way, I want to also say this to people. I'm not saying don't go race the big race. If UTMB is on your bucket list and you want to do it, or if Western States is on your race and you want to do it, go do it. But I want to reference what Wendy said, which is understand that when you race on Saturday, there's a very good chance, like 100% chance, that there's going to be another race on Sunday that somebody else is doing, and then the following week is going to be another race that somebody's doing. And so the dopamine that you get from those kudos on Strava and on Instagram, it's a sharp decline. And so just understand that. Go do the race. Go have fun. Celebrate the hell out of it. Take the pictures and videos and share them all over the place. But don't tie your identity, like we started when we first opened up this podcast, to that individual race, because that's going to fade really, really fast.
100%. And speaking of the word identity, so the whole identity thing for me, years and years ago, I was somewhere in Colorado, or I was still in Colorado. Someone identified me as the Ironman athlete, and I didn't like that
Really?
because I see the Ironman athlete now on social media. I see kind of like what they're perceived as type A, obsessive compulsive. And I never felt like I was. I'm like, I'm not type A at all. Like training, I know how to train, I know how to organize. I was a swimmer. Swimmer taught me great time management as a kid. But like, I don't want, I'm more than just an Ironman. You know what I mean? I just didn't like just people thinking me as an Ironman, which again, it was great for my coaching business and there were a lot of positive things. But again, that whole identity. And then when I broke my knee, um, my sister said, do you feel a loss of identity? And at that time, I never felt a loss of identity. I think I handled it pretty well under the circumstances because of my mindset. This is temporary. Hopefully, I'll be able to run again. Hopefully, like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It's an experience. I learned a lot. It's really cool how the body rebuilds itself, So I stayed pretty positive. But the whole like identity thing, um, I didn't I don't feel like I was depressed. I mean, there was probably moments, but no, not this. I wasn't depressed for a year or two. I was like, let's focus on the things I can do. Let's focus on the things I can do. I could do 10 pull-ups after that period of time. Like 6 months later, I'm doing 10 pull-ups. I could never do a pull-up. And so I just don't, I think people just need to like always have an internal why of why they do things and not say, who are you? Tell me who you are, and don't come out and just with I'm an Iron Man because Iron Man is temporary. It's not like who you are though your whole life.
How
I don't
did
know
you
where that
break your
came from, but
How did you break your knee?
long story. Um, I think I was just overtrained and tired. I was walking across the street from where my mom lives to a trailhead, and I just kind of like walked across. It was a busy street. I started running. It was, maybe 20 feet. I was running to
Okay.
the trailhead. I tripped, and I don't know what I tripped on. I fell flat on my knees. I jumped up, ran right into the forest. It's a 5 mile loop. I got done. My knees were bleeding. And I'm like, oh yeah, I fell on my knees. Patched myself up, went to work, yada, yada, yada. Over the next 10 days, they were hurting me. And I'm just like, oh, well, you're training for a 50K. You probably have patella tendonitis. So no big deal. And then, so over the next 10 days, one hurt more than the other. They hurt, I have to modify, I really couldn't run much. I did my first Spartan race the week after I originally fell on my knees. And I'm like, I don't want to land on my knee. I can't do any monkey bars or anything like that because I don't have to land on my knee and my knee hurts too much. And then again, 10 days since the original fall, I was hiking a little loop with the kids I coach for swimming, and my knee just said, I can't hold you up anymore. And it just split.
Wow.
Completely just split. I'm on the ground. I look at my leg and I'm like, you're not going to be running for a while. And then I'm like, all right, sometimes a break in your routine is what you need, kind of thing. And I didn't run. As much as I wanted to be running, when my surgeon said, "Oh, you'll be back to normal in 12 weeks." I'm like, "No." And so 12 weeks, when he said everything was healed, my leg was like the size of my arm because I lost all my muscle and stability. And it was a good 30 weeks, 32 weeks until I could try to run. And it was just again, it was an opportunity to just kind of learn and experience it and go to ground zero with my fitness, because I've been an athlete my whole life. I've never been cardiovascularly out of shape before. So when I started training again, I hadn't used a heart rate for probably 10 years. Really, since I started ultra running, I stopped using heart rate. So I slapped that heart rate monitor on and I'm like, oh my God, level 1 on the step mill. My heart rate's like 180. And I'm just like, wow, I'm really out of shape. This is gonna be fun. And so, like, that reframing of, I can only go up from here as far as fitness goes. And then my running came once I was able to start running, and I was able to run a mile. Like, oh my God, yeah, I did a mile at the track. Woohoo, I celebrated. It started coming pretty kind of quickly, but it was really a good year and a half before I was really like running like my normal self. And even post patella break, I'm still crushing it. Like, I was crushing my times before I broke my patella, after my patella. So that's like drives me to say, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like, you are coming back stronger, like everyone said. But when you're in the moment, I'm like, what do you guys know? Like, you've never done this. So that was a lot of perspective, a lot of, I'm glad I'm a positive person. I'm glad I'm looking to the future. I'm glad I'm seeing the big picture of what's going to happen. I just have to be patient.
Where does this mindset come from? Because, right, like this story that you're telling is, I'm going on a hike with kids and my knee splits and I know that I won't be able to run. Like, most people would be like devastated. And then
I
when somebody
know.
would tell them you're not going to run for 12 weeks, like your mindset, the way you presented it was, yeah, it's going to take longer than that. Most people would be like, I'm going to get it done in 8 weeks. I'll show you. Like, where do you think this mindset comes from?
I'll show you, and I'm not going to be like other people. Because I know every single athlete I've ever coached would be like, every day to me as their coach, they'd be crying and moaning and groaning and yada, yada, yada. And I didn't want to be that person. For the most part, like, initially, no. I mean, the 9 days before I had surgery, 9 days of laying flat on my bed before I had surgery was the hardest part because nothing was healing. But once I had surgery, I'm like, all right, I'm starting the healing process. I don't know how long it's going to take, but this is temporary. This is every day I have to just remind myself this is temporary. Go in the weight room, challenge yourself to get these pull-ups in. And that was fun. And then, but I didn't want to be that person of sobbing for 8 months. I'm
Yeah.
like, where's that gonna get me? And this is totally out of my control. And so that's another highlight, or another thing I always teach people, is focus on what you can control. This was totally out of my control, so I'm following my own advice. Focus on what you can control. You can go do weights. I just needed someone to drive me there because I couldn't drive. I think it took me 10 weeks. It was my right leg. So I couldn't drive for 10 or 12 weeks. That was frustrating sometimes too, because it's out of my control. I can't go to the weight room. Someone has to drive me. But in the end, again, I couldn't control anything. So why am I gonna be
I think
miserable?
I think one of the things that's also really cool about your personality is, like, we talked about the cold plunging and the challenge, right? The small challenges. And so
Hmm.
I would imagine that this idea of coming back to health after breaking your patella, and you talked about doing the pull-ups, right? So it's like these little challenges along the way that are, for lack of a better phrase, a distraction from the bigger picture. If I can do one pull-up, then can I do 2 pull-ups and 3 pull-ups? And so
Right.
you're distracting yourself from the much bigger picture of it's going to take 30 to 32 weeks to get healthy to run again. In the meantime, I'm going to do these other things that are going to also help me get healthy.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You know what? And I even did, again, I didn't want to miss a race because I haven't missed a race in 34 years, 33, 34 years. There was a local sprint. It's about a mile, it starts a mile from my house. I swam. It was 1,000 pool swim. I walked to transition because I wasn't running yet. I did my
Yep.
mountain bike. I crushed the mountain bike. It's like 13 miles. It took me about an hour on my
Yeah.
mountain bike. And then I walked the 5K. I'm speed walking and I'm feeling like I'm running and I'm
It's
looking at
awesome.
videos. And it took me about 2 hours. I crossed the finish line. I felt like I did an Ironman. And I was
Yeah.
so like, again, those challenges, it was only 18 weeks post-op. And I only been riding my bike barely 5 miles. It was first 5 miles I had to ride my bike. It took me almost an hour. But like, it was like, oh my gosh, I just did this Ironman. I finished and I was so sore because I still didn't have the muscles built yet. But yet
Yep.
my mind knew I could do it. And so I did. And just having those small little mini goals of achievements and celebrations is a big part of what everyone needs to do more of.
Yeah, seriously, because the big win only happens when the little wins accumulate. Like you don't
Yeah.
just into the big win, and you should really recognize all of those small steps along the way, because the memories of the big accomplishment will eventually fade, and you want to make sure that you're supplementing those big accomplishments with those small victories that you're celebrating. Like, I remember to this day the very first mile I ran when I got into endurance sports and running. Lori and I were in New York in the summer of 2025, and we went to the track that I ran my first mile
Hmm.
at when I decided to register for the first half marathon. And I can see myself running that, but I have zero recollection of the actual first half marathon I ever ran in terms of where it was located or what the finish line looked like. I know I felt like shit because I didn't know anything about nutrition and hydration, right?
Uh-huh.
So it was just run as fast as you can for 13.1 miles, even though I had coaches through the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. But I remember that first mile and I remember it vividly. And so
Hmm.
celebrating all of those little steps and overcoming those challenges along the way is super important.
Yeah, and I'm in a lot of these Facebook groups. I don't know why I'm still in them. But you see these new people and they don't recognize, oh my God, it's a huge accomplishment. You went from not being
Yes.
able to swim 4 weeks later, you can swim at 50. Your
Right.
Ironman's in 6 months. You'll get there, but you just have to be
Yes.
patient and celebrate those small little mini victories.
It's one of the things. So I love Threads. I use it constantly every day. And I don't use the following tab, I use the For You tab on Threads. And it
Hmm.
always shows me brand new athletes. I just registered for my first 5K. I just registered for my first
Hmm.
half marathon. I registered for, and I celebrate them. I don't know them from Adam. I don't like, they may not ever follow me. They may never comment back, but I always reply to them. And I just tell them, congratulations, you're taking a risk and betting on yourself. And I'm super proud of you. And
Hmm.
I'm hoping that when they read that, it builds their confidence to say, I can do this. Because
Hmm.
I believe, and I'm sure you do as well, that when we accomplish things in endurance sports, whether it's swimming, cycling, running, or a triathlon altogether, that carries over into life outside of endurance sports. Now, all of
Oh,
a sudden, maybe
absolutely.
starting, right? Like all of a sudden, starting that business becomes a thing, or that project you have to present to your
Hmm.
boss, or that sales pitch you have to make to the big client. All of a sudden, you're like, I can do this because I just did that.
Right. Do
So
hard
we're,
things.
yeah, do hard things 100%. I've been talking with you and asking you all the questions. In the green room, you said you might have some questions for me. So has anything popped up that you want to ask?
Well, so we had set this up 6 months ago,
Months
four
ago.
months ago.
Yeah.
And I was looking back at an email and we were going to do it on a Wednesday and you changed it to a Tuesday because you had to teach or you had papers. What do you teach?
I am a adjunct lecturer at California Lutheran University here in Thousand Oaks, California, and I teach
Okay.
marketing and business management. So this term, you will love this because you own a business. So this term, I have, I think, 9 or 10 students, I think 9. And their project for this term is I own a farmer's market. I own 2, one in West Hollywood and one in Malibu. And I've given them
Uh-huh.
all of the, I really don't, but this is the scenario.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I
Okay.
gave,
You do
I don't.
so much.
I gave them the scenario like, I'm the owner. I'm going to
Okay.
lend you. I'm going to lend you money to purchase a booth at one of these farmers markets. You have to pay me back on a certain time frame, and then every week they have to present a different scenario with something that I've given them. So this week, I asked, if you purchase the spot in West Hollywood, you are now able to purchase a spot in Malibu, but you have to staff it, and the staff is going to cost you 30% of your revenue. And so I'm teaching them management decisions like, do I really want to get that extra spot? How much am I spending on marketing? How much am I spending on
Uh-huh.
employees? What if my sales don't hit the number I need so I can pay Jason back the $10,000 loan he gave me? And so I teach management and marketing at the collegiate level at California Lutheran University here.
That's fun. That sounds like a math class. My undergraduate degree was math education. I was almost a math teacher. Whew. That's another podcast, but because what I see of you, because again, we just met a couple months ago,
Yeah.
a few months ago, you have all these podcasts and all
Yep.
these threads and Instagrams, and I came across a recent podcast, I think from 2025, maybe at the end of the year, where you just did a short clip and you talked about Enduring Minds, Food Fight Friday, Everyday Endurance podcast, and I think you probably have 2 more.
Yeah.
And alls I see you do is podcasts all the time. I'm like, what else does he do? Because he's always posting in his stories, which are great. And he just all he does is just podcasts. And I'm like, oh, you've alluded twice. I know that you were a teacher, so I wanted to ask.
Yeah. I mean, this is a business. And so we're making sales calls to clients and selling them on reaching our audience. So whether you know this or not, and some people in the audience may not. So my background is in sales and marketing in the media landscape. So for 30 years now, I've been buying and selling commercials, for lack of a better phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so that was my background. And when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, I worked for a company that operated in the travel space. And obviously, if you're in the travel space during the pandemic, there's a really good chance that you might go out of business because who's traveling? And
Right.
I launched this business by merging my love of endurance sports and my passion for everyday athletes like yourself and telling their stories with my knowledge and expertise in sales and marketing in the media landscape, and just put those two together and launch this business. So, and I love talking to people. So you see me on Threads, you see me doing these podcasts, and all of this is to build a media company. And the benefit is I get to talk to cool people all along the way, right? So it doesn't
Right.
feel like a job in that sense. And then I, make sales calls to clients and say, hey, would you like to spend your marketing dollars on sponsoring ABC on the Run Try Bike platform?
That's cool.
Yeah, it's I'm super fortunate to have been able to
Mm-hmm.
find myself in this space. There's no doubt about it. But I think it also goes back to something I always tell Joe Harden, and something you just said about doing the hard stuff. Is I'm a big believer, and I have my mantra that says, take risks and bet on yourself. And so by taking the risk of starting my own company and betting on myself, I've learned so much about running a business. I've learned a lot about myself, and I get to learn about athletes like yourself, and then take your lessons that you're teaching me during this conversation and apply it to
Uh-huh.
the business, which is really, really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Any other questions? I'm happy to answer them. This is
I mean,
fun.
I do have another question, but I know we might be doing a forum on it. Eating disorders.
Yeah. So
So
that,
if you don't mind, I know you posted it, you talk about it on the podcast. I just wanted to share again, I had a major eating disorder in college. My college swim coach wanted me to lose weight. So I did. I look good. I kept losing weight because I look good. Triathlon when I started triathlon, I think for me, that helped me overcome the disordered eating because I learned that I need to eat to train versus train to eat, which is what I did in college, which is I never reached my potential as a swimmer because I was a head case and I had an eating disorder in college. Therefore, I'm reaching my potential as a multi-sport athlete. And I remember you said triathlon put you into disordered eating. Is your
Correct.
disordered eating, were you just eating too much?
Not enough.
Not
So
enough,
like,
because the reason I ask is just curious because I did my whole thesis on eating disorders among triathletes. And so I'm
so
really
it's,
into this
I
disordered eating.
wrote down,
So when I see you and you stuffing your face and you would talk on some of the podcasts or wherever I heard you talking about this stuff, that you would appear to be eating and then you'd go in the background
yeah,
in your pantry at 1 o'clock in the morning and stuff your face.
yeah. So it's funny. I wrote down that you have a MS in wellness, and your thesis was the prevalence of disordered eating among triathletes. And
Yeah.
um, I'm more than happy to talk about that. And I do want to host a panel discussion because I think it's important to me. So I think it's an important topic for a lot of people. In triathlon, you have a measurement on the bike of watts to kilogram. And so
Hmm.
I could ride and train and do deadlifts and squats and try to build up my leg strength as much as I possibly could. Or if I lost weight and my kilograms went down, my watts per kilogram ratio would go
Yeah.
up, right? It's simple math. And so I was focused on that. Like if I can get smaller and smaller is faster, simultaneously my watts per kilogram
Uh-huh.
number goes up. It was all of these dopamine calculations that it was, right? Because it's really nothing more than that. It's, oh wow,
Right.
pick a number. I went from 2.5 watts per kilogram to 2.8 because I lost X amount of pounds, not because I was fitter or stronger or anything of that nature. And so it
Right.
was
That's
kind
an
of like
interesting,
that.
it's an interesting metric that you used to want to be thin.
Yeah.
And
Because the
and for
whole for
me,
me go ahead.
well, for me, I mean, I grew up in a swimsuit. And so when I lost weight and people are like, you look good. I mean, I'm 5'7". I was 135 pounds when my coach told me to lose weight. I'm like, it's not like I
Right.
was a big person. But I
Right.
had surgery, so the surgery actually initiated the weight loss, and then, "No, you look good," so you keep losing weight, keep losing weight, keep losing weight. Oh my god, lo being that thin as a swimmer was just horrific,
Yeah.
and I just, like I'm just so, like, hurt that I allowed myself to do that because I never reached my potential, and so when I started triathlon and I started gaining weight and I started eating to perform, and that was a game changer, and so I did wanna make sure we touched a little bit on that topic.
100%. So for me, it was also lighter is faster. It was just that mentality. The lighter I am, the faster I will go because I'm not having to pull weight around. Back then, I'm also a smidge under 5'7". So let's say I'm 5'7" too. Back then I
Mhm,
was about like 140 pounds. And
mhm.
I was like, the smaller I am, the faster I can run, the faster I can swim, the faster I can, like everything was predicated on getting faster. And watts per kilogram was a way to measure that speed in a
Yeah,
sense. And so
interesting.
like I would eat I would take pictures of my food. You can go to my Instagram account, personal, it's Cook Train Eat Race. And if you scroll back, there's pictures of food constantly. That's what I allowed you to see. Like you
Uh-huh.
mentioned, middle of the night, I would be eating donuts and everything else because I was starving. I was doing two a days. You'd be riding for
Right.
2 hours in the morning and then running an hour at night. Like I was starving, and so even if I was eating and shoveling those donuts and whatever else into my mouth in the middle of the night, it still wasn't giving me the calories I needed, and so it was kind of like always trying to do that. And so that was the premise for me. And what changed was when I got into ultra running. And when I got into ultra running, I realized like there is no watts per kilogram measurement anymore. And so just eat, dude. Like you're
Right.
going to be climbing this mountain. You got to have energy. So you better eat. And that kind of helped me move away from this disordered eating that I was going through and experiencing to eating. And now it's sort of a defiant move for me mentally to take a picture of myself eating. Because back then, you didn't see pictures of me eating. You
Right,
see a plate of
interesting.
food, but you didn't see me eating. And now it's like a defiant move to tell that person I was 6, 7, 8 years ago, I'm no longer that person. Watch me. I'm going to prove it to you. Kind of like we said earlier. I'm going to prove to you I'm not that person. Here's me eating a burrito or whatever it is,
Right.
and it's that mindset that has kind of taken over as well.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you're healthier.
Yeah. And it's a struggle every day. Don't get me wrong. Like
Yeah, I was
there,
gonna say once we're disordered eating, it's always gonna be there.
yeah, there are days where, so we run down here in Manhattan in Hermosa Beach, El Segundo, Redondo every Sunday, and we go get nachos afterwards. And like 3 or 4 weeks ago, Wendy, we were eating, and I was like, should I eat this last bit? Like
Hmm.
it came into because I was like, oh, but you just had a great run and this marathon training is going well. And it was like, should I eat this last bit? And then it clicked. I was like, dude, you're hungry. Yes, you should eat that last bit. Like, why?
Yeah,
Why would you not?
right.
It's a thing. And so thank you for bringing it up because I do want to have a panel discussion and allow people who are going through it, have gone through it, to talk about it because I know it will help others, especially for men. Because this is clearly, you could look at men talking about their performance in sports and everything else. There are very few men who are talking about whether or not they have disordered eating issues.
Well, and when I did my thesis, so I graduated with a master's in '99. So when I was doing my thesis, late '90s, um, I sent questionnaires out to the Wildflower Triathlon and the Grand Junction Colorado Triathlon and got all these answers. And there were 3 or 4 men who wrote me a whole story on their anorexia, bulimia.
Yeah,
It was shocking to hear from men, especially back then,
right.
that were admitting and telling me their stories about disordered eating disorders, vice
Either
versa.
way, yeah, either way. Wendy, we're bumping up on an hour. Where can people find you if they want to see, what you're up to and maybe reach out because they're looking? Are you taking new clients on anyway before I just throw you out there?
Right. So I am accepting new clients. I got a brand new website, launched it probably November, December. So I'm really happy. My old website was from 2008, very outdated. New logo, new website. So my website is T2 Coaching. I transition you. T2 is the second transition from um, bike to run. So I transition you to whatever level you're starting at to that next level. So it doesn't matter where you're starting. I'll get you to that next level. Specialize in swimming. Swimming's my thing. And then I'm also on Instagram at T2 Coach Wendy.
Awesome. And we'll put that in the show notes. We'll have your Instagram handle in there. And I know there's a link in your bio to your website. So if you go to her Instagram account, make sure you follow Wendy and then click on the link in the bio so you can go check out her brand new website. Do you have a few minutes for
Yes.
our? I don't even have to ask. You sound prepared. Do I have to ask the questions or do you want to just spit out the answers?
Pineapple on pizza? Absolutely not. I would
Yes.
never ruin pineapple. I love pineapple so much that if the thought of putting it on a pizza and like ruining the flavor is a no.
What about dill pickle? That's a new one that has come up in conversation lately.
I heard that. I don't know. I'm not a big pizza person. I don't like cheese, so it has to be the vegan cheese, but everything else is fine. I had dill pickle potato chips and I really like them.
They're really good. Yes.
So I would be willing, and this is a recent podcast I think you just had.
Yeah.
I would be willing to try it because I like the dill pickle potato chip so much.
Yeah, I think you have to do it on a white pizza. I don't think it would work really well on a red sauce.
On a red, no, no.
Terrible on a red sauce pizza. Peeps? Are Peeps a real candy or are they just dust bunnies covered in glitter?
Dust bunnies covered in glitter.
Yes.
Not the whole big on the marshmallow. Ugh. And then they harden, and then they're just like, what?
I don't know
No.
how many episodes we've done of the Fireside Chat. We asked that question on just about every single one of them. And more people than I can remember have said, if you allow them to get stale, they taste good. And I'm like, so you want me to take something that tastes bad, make it worse, and it's supposedly going to be better? I don't think
Yeah,
so.
no, no. I'm sure as a kid, I didn't know any better, but no way, ever, no.
Is candy corn a real candy or is it just earwax covered in sugar?
Now I'd say it's earwax covered in sugar. As a kid, I used to really like them. As an adult, if I see them, I'll try one a year just to make sure. And then I'm like, oh my God, I probably used to stuff my face with those. Like, they're everywhere and you just reach in with the bowl with your hand. But no, 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 no,
There is a
no.
grandma or an aunt or maybe even a mom out there that's got a bowl of candy, hard candies, and there's usually a butterscotch. There is the strawberry that's in the strawberry wrapper that has that
Yes.
jelly in the
I
middle.
saw one of those today.
And then there's the mint that has
Yeah.
the red and white stripes. And then potentially there's a Brock's caramel cube in there too. Which of those four are you reaching into the bowl and taking?
The Brock's caramel. I love
You love your
caramel.
dentist?
Caramel, love it. Absolutely, without a doubt. I did see that strawberry with the middle. My
Yeah,
mom had one in her purse. I don't know where she got it. Um,
1984.
but those I would have liked in the back in the day, but caramel, any chance I get. Werther's original.
Werther's originals are so good.
Yeah.
That Queer Eye episode I just told you about, one of the ladies who's getting her makeover in there is a
Uh-huh.
Werther's original fanatic. She had like 5 or 6 bags in her bedroom of Werther's originals. And I was like, that's my lady. That's my friend.
Yeah. Those are absolutely amazing. Little quick story is I was obsessed with them. I used to eat them. Like, I think it was like that was my stress eating, and I would eat bags a day. And so one time, and my birthday, I always do challenges during my birth month, which is in March. One of my birth month challenges was to not eat the Werthers. And I went through withdrawal. And that's when I realized I had a problem because I didn't have them. And I'm looking in my bags and I'm looking for them in drawers all over the house. I'm like, I just want one piece. I just want one piece. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a problem. I'm addicted to these things. And so I gave them up, and I don't think I had one for, like, maybe, like, 2 or 3 years, and then I'm like, "All
Really?
right, I think I broke my addiction, I'm just gonna have one." And I was okay with coffee, I like them with coffee, and then because I don't do cream or sugar in my coffee, I just do black coffee, but with a little Werther's treat, I
Yeah.
think it's okay. Um, but I think I have it under control, but my gosh, years ago, it was kinda scary to realize, like, I was just going nuts, I just needed that sugar. That sugar in the
Really?
Werther's is just amazing.
Have you seen the video that I've posted of using the Seven Summit Snacks mint bar to make a mint Americano?
Yes,
It's so good.
and I
It's,
saw your Thin Mint cookie one,
yeah,
but
so
the
good.
7 Summits, that would be amazing. I would eat that. I would d do that with coffee,
Yeah, it
for
is so
sure.
good. And they actually have a coffee bar. So if you want double coffee flavor, they have a coffee
Mhm.
bar that you can melt into the Americano as well. Since you're drinking your coffee black. I was going to ask you what's your coffee order, but now I know. Black.
Totally black, and I don't usually like coffee flavored anything because coffee flavored, like ice cream, it's
Yep.
cream and sugar, and it's the
Yeah.
cream and sugar and coffee that I don't like. I like
Yes.
coffee, cream and sugar by itself, coffee by itself.
Yeah. What you've just done a hard race or a hard training, swim, bike, or run, and you're going to a diner. What's the order? What are you placing as an order at the diner?
A diner? Ooh. Probably if they had a veggie burger and fries.
Yeah.
Because I still like, after a big workout, I still crave that burger,
Yes.
but I don't eat meat, and I
Yep.
don't wanna eat meat, I don't wanna eat animals, but I
Yep.
still have that craving, so if they had, like, a veggie burger, I'd get
Yes.
that, but definitely a french fries.
There's a place up by the school that I lecture at that has
Uh-huh.
a vegan burger, and so when we go up there on Wednesdays, typically stop there before we go to teach for 3.5 hours because that's like a workout in and of itself. So
Right.
I'm pre-gaming before I go into that classroom. Is red velvet cake a real flavor, or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
Chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom.
Yep, 100%.
Not a fan, not a fan.
Yeah. I mean, if you get it at the grocery store, they're just charging you for the red food dye. They're not actually making it the way you would get at a bakery for
Right.
sure. Okay. Um, favorite non-chocolate candy is?
Werther's.
It took you a second. I was wondering.
Because I was thinking I don't like fruity candy, and I think other podcast people talk about a fruity candy.
Yep.
Nerd clusters, absolutely not. Nerd clusters seem to be the thing, the fuel of choice right now. I'm like,
Was
"What? No, I don't like fruity candy."
what
Werther's, without a doubt. A caramel something, without a doubt. Sea
What about
salt, caramel.
sour candies? Are sour candies a thumbs up?
No,
No sour
no,
candies either.
no,
So
absolutely not.
you must be a dark chocolate fan then. You like that bitter?
Love dark chocolate. Love dark
Yeah.
chocolate and sea salt.
So what's your favorite chocolate candy?
I'm not a I'm not a big chocolate fan. If I do have chocolate, I have to put peanut butter on it.
Okay.
I like chocolate and peanut butter. So chocolate and peanut butter smoothies are daily non-negotiable for me post-training, a chocolate protein with peanut butter. No
Yep.
banana. I don't like banana flavoring. But if I ever were to have like a bar of chocolate, I would have to dip it in peanut butter.
I like it. And so you've answered the smoothie, the flavor of choice. What would be the meal you would order as a last meal? You know that tomorrow isn't going to happen. So what's the last meal?
Um, you know, whenever I talked about being on a deserted island, I always thought I'd want to have the food of choice on a deserted island would be sweet potatoes,
Okay.
French fried sweet potatoes.
Okay.
So last meal, never thought about this is something I'm not prepared for. Um, what would it be though? It would probably be something that I currently don't eat, but I just can't think of it.
That's
What
interesting.
would yours be?
So this is like also a non-negotiable because I don't eat meat either. And
Uh-huh.
but my mother, who somebody else would have to make it because my mother has passed, is a chuleta, which is a fried pork chop with
Mm-hmm.
arroz con gandules, which is rice and beans. And that was a meal I ate growing up as a kid through young adulthood. It has connections to my mother and my father and my
Right.
family. And so that would absolutely be the last meal. If I knew that tomorrow didn't exist, 100% it would be that. Not only for the flavor, but for the connection to my family.
Yeah, yeah. This is a good I'll talk about it in the next podcast. I'm not sure. Maybe you'll have to bring me on something else. I'd have to think
We
about that.
absolutely will. So here's the last one for you. Tray of brownies has come out of the oven. It's sat on the counter long enough that you can cut into it without making a mess. Are you going to the corner? Are you going to the edge? Or are you going to the middle for the ooey gooey?
All the corners. I like crispy. I like burnt stuff. It would
Yeah.
be every single corner and I would just leave the rest for everyone else. I
So
probably
the
wouldn't even touch the rest.
so the
And I'd put
follow up
peanut butter on it. I would
a glop
absolutely, if
or a
I'm gonna have a
drizzle.
brownie, I'm not gonna eat just the brownie. I'm gonna have to put peanut butter on it.
But is it a glop, a dollop of peanut butter, or is it a drizzle of like melted peanut butter?
Oh, it's a spread all the way around. Every bite would have to have some peanut butter in it, for sure.
I love it. Now, the follow-up question to the corners, do you also like your lasagna and taking the corners where you have the little burnt edges on the noodles?
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right? It's like eating
Yeah.
a potato chip all of a sudden. It's
The
fantastic.
crunch of a noodle is really good.
Yes. I love it. Wendy, thank you so much for joining me. It has been a blast, and we will absolutely have to reschedule you again and bring you back on. Maybe we'll do it at the end of this year when you start your cold plunge for the end of 2026 into
Nice.
2027.
Sounds good.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
For those of you that have hung around with us long enough for us to chat for an hour and 10 minutes, thank you so much. Time is the greatest gift that we can give to each other, and you gave me the gift of your time. I really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review to the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform, and check us out at Run Try Mag on YouTube. Comment. I will respond to you. I love hearing your thoughts. Please drop those questions in there, drop those comments, and don't forget to join the Everyday Athlete Clubhouse. You can get there by going to runtrymag.com. Go to the header menu for shop. It'll drop down. Click on there and come and join and hang out with us. We'll see you next week on the next Fireside Chat.